You're listening to the Hoof Podcast on the Cover One Network with your hosts Sterling, Eric, and Anthony. Join in as they break down the latest and greatest with your Buffalo Bills.
What's cracking, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hoof Live. I am your host, Sterling, and we have Anthony up top and Eric on the bottom. Fellas, how you doing tonight?
What's up? Ready to go. Hey, we got big news to talk about this week, obviously. Christmas came early for Bills fans this week, and it's all uphill from here, man. I'm so pumped. It feels like the season is starting tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready.
It kind of is because it's our last show before Friday.
Before actual football.
And it's funny you mentioned Christmas because I know you're not a fan of Christmas.
I know. Yeah, it's better than Christmas. In my tweet this week, I said it's better than Christmas and Halloween specifically because I'm a Halloween guy, for those who know me. Yeah, that's the best holiday of the year. This was better than Halloween. Absolutely.
Well, I thought it was great to see the Hall of Fame speeches. That's always good for me.
Cool.
And football is officially underway after the Hall of Fame game. So, even though the preseason's shorter this year, it's still kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. Watching people compete to make a team is fun for me.
Preseason is going to be dope because we didn't get a preseason last year. And I think we're all star for football. And we got like a really deep roster. So you're going to see a lot of some of the young guys kind of come into form, kind of see what they can do. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm excited and I'm happy to be back. Last week I missed, obviously, because I was moving and get the internet on and all that kind of stuff. So I'm here, dude. But you guys slayed it, man.
Ooh, and we just happened to talk Josh Allen last week, which was awesome.
We knew
timing. Yep,
we knew what was
we
up.
had that inside info.
But no, it's good to be back, man. Definitely missed it. Like you guys talking, football is here. Like we got a game on Friday. And even though it's against the Lions, I mean.
Is that a real game? I don't know.
I still expect the Bills to mop them up, like for real.
5 minutes.
Yeah, it's still going to be fun. But for those of you out there tuning into the show, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe the Hoof Podcast. We can't do this without you guys and your support. And, the Cover One Network, this is our home and this is how we get down. We have shows just about every day. Our guys, you won't get any better in-depth analysis from top to bottom. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, Cover One, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We got some folks in here. Gordon. Hey, Gordon was on Twitter saying that he was going to be here. So we got a little joke going on.
What's up, Gordon?
What's up, Gordon? How you doing, man? And then we got Matt in here. What's up, Matt? How y'all doing, man? So yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the defensive line, and we got some other topics lined up for you guys. And don't forget, as we get closer to the season, we are going to be setting up a Hoof Live email. And what that email is going to do is going to put you in a running to get a jersey. We're going to give away one jersey every single month of the season. So every 4 weeks, we will be giving away a jersey. So it'll be important that you guys, with that email address, feel free to ask us questions because we want to do a segment at the end of the show where, we can ask some of the questions that sometimes, maybe you guys don't necessarily get to ask in the chat, or there are people who don't get to watch the show live. Maybe they're watching it or listening to it later, or as they're driving to work or so forth. So we want to just make sure we're connecting with all of our fans, giving everybody an opportunity to connect. This is going to be a big season. Like Bills, we could be talking Super Bowl here. The Bills are that freaking good. And that's, y'all know me. I'm not the homer type, right? But for me to say that, or to acknowledge that the Bills are Super Bowl contenders, is a pretty good feeling and a pretty good place to be in.
It's where we're at. That's the reality of the situation. We are. That's where we're at, and we got to move forward with it. Despite the ignorance that may still exist out there. I was telling Sterling earlier, I just happened to be driving up from Ithaca and heard some ESPN radio where they were talking about the Bills and had some nonsense last year, which was about last year, saying the Bills defense can't improve, that we're not going to get any better. And I just rolled my eyes because I'm like, we're still getting this from the media? this type of ignorance about the Buffalo Bills. This team is better than last year. This team did improve from last year. The defense is better than last year. And yet these talking heads who have no idea what they're talking about say, oh, I don't see how the Bills improved this year. Get the heck out of here.
And that's true as Sal Capaccio put something on Twitter about the national media saying, no, you're not good. Josh Allen wasn't good enough to play in the NFL, but now that he's a paid franchise quarterback, now he's too good for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Because there's fake rumors out there that he wanted to go elsewhere, but okay.
Bull crap. Yeah.
What's the narrative going to be? What's the narrative going to be this year? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a story. Now it's going to be, well, is he going to earn all that money and so forth? I mean, I think that the media is geared to just not like Josh Allen. They still don't believe that he's the truth. And I think this year, because they're like, oh, it's just one season. I think this is the year where he kind of he sets the record straight. And no one has puts more pressure on himself than Josh Allen. He'll tell you the same thing. So I mean, I don't see any issues. Haters gonna hate, baby.
Yeah.
Gonna hate all freaking day. If they hated Jesus, they're gonna hate Josh Allen. So it's all good.
It's amazing how everybody can consistently say now, oh, the Bills made the AFC Championship game. Most outlets are picking us to get that far again, and maybe the Chiefs are still the team to beat. I understand that. But saying that the Bills aren't legit and that they can't win at all, that's stupid right now. That's not even like on the board. That's just absolutely stupid. You are stupid if you believe that the Bills cannot win a Super Bowl this year. That's absolutely incorrect. I don't know what else to tell you. You don't know what you're talking about. That's it. I don't care if you're on ESPN radio. I don't care if you're on NFL Network. If you think the Bills have no chance to win a Super Bowl or can't get better this year, you're stupid. And maybe you should learn some football and actually watch some Bills content because I'm sick of it. That's where I draw the line. I'm done. I said it last year when we would get better. And now this year when we're actually proved it in the past year and the roster's improved, if anything, people still talk nonsense. So, yeah, it's always going to exist out there. We're always going to use it as fuel. But just today, it just happened randomly that I was listening to the radio and heard that nonsense. And I'm like, God, when does it ever end? So maybe the media is starting to get on our side. I don't know. But we need to bring home that Super Bowl.
Yeah, we do. And before we continue on, so let's make sure we have a sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, and pick'em. You can start drafting in minutes for a shot at big cash prizes. And if you enter the promo code COVER1, Underdog Fantasy will match up to $25 on your first deposit. So by all means, jump on in there to Underdog Fantasy. It's pretty cool. I've jumped in there myself, kind of checking things out, and I will be contributing to Underdog Fantasy. All of our guys here at Cover One will be. So it's going to be dope. So make sure you guys check them out. And again, promo code COVER1, and they will match. So anyway, all right. So with that being said, so tonight's show will be about the defensive line and predictions and outlook. Okay. And you guys know how we do. We kind of table the meat of the discussion towards the middle of the end of the show. For those of you who are new to the season, we kind of do our show in segments. We kind of kick things off. So our guys do not know the topics that are prepared for them. I preload them, and then they come in and we get their takes, and we just kind of go from that standpoint. So with that being said, we're going to kick this thing off. Let's talk about real quick, we don't want to beat a dead horse here, but the Josh Allen extension, we reacted on Twitter, but this is the first time where we got to be in front of our fans to react to the contract. So Eric, I'll start with you, then Anthony. Where were you when you found out that Josh Allen signed this mega deal?
Ooh, that's a good question. Where was I? I was on vacation. We're at the lake house. And I think it was late in the evening, right? I can't remember. Was it in the morning?
Yeah, it was. Let's see. It was in the morning.
Thursday
it
night,
came through in the morning.
Yeah,
well, it was
Friday
like
morning.
10 to noon here. It was like 10 to noon here, so it's probably afternoon for you guys.
Yeah, so it was like during the day, and just saw it come across. Every time I get an update, I think I'm the first person that's seen it, but that's never the case. So instantly text everybody and tell everybody in the room, and the deal I thought was really deserving. I mean, when you look at the numbers, when you listen to Greg Tomsat and where this deal should have been, I think they hit it right on the head. And the best part, in my opinion, is we don't have to deal with, well, Lamar Jackson got this, so Josh should get this. They have to deal with that because they waited to sign Lamar. Josh is a done deal. He's a Buffalo Bill until he's 33 years old. I'm ready for it. Now we just gotta get the wins, right? You got to continue this growth and keep moving forward.
I think we were all obviously excited to see this move. That's an understatement, right? I mean, I was with my mom and Kathy, and I just was like, holy heck, it just came through. It's done. And they're like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, Josh Allen got his deal. It's a mega deal. It's great. He got paid. We're keeping him. It's done. Because I'm not going to lie, when the news came out just a few days before that like, hey, if the Bills don't get a deal done, Josh Allen and the Bills have agreed to table it until next year. I'm like, oh, shoot, here we go. This is going to be something looming over their heads. And when this was gone, I even tweeted it out. I said, there's nothing in the way now. There's no distractions on this team. There's no distractions hovering. This team is ready to win a Super Bowl, and that is what their goal is, and there's nothing in their way. Otherwise, we would have heard game after game. Josh Allen is a good game. Does this affect his contract? Are you going to sign him to a mega deal? Josh Allen has a bad game. Oh, does he get his contract? Do you still want to sign him? None of that is going to happen now this season, and I think both sides were aware of that. I agree with Eric that this deal seems ideal, right where you would want it to fit. All this nonsense that we were shooting down on this podcast about Josh Allen's going to take a hometown deal. No, that doesn't exist in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. He took a market deal at his value, period. He got paid. He got a lot of guaranteed money, which is the most ever, actually, but he earned it. He earned it. And the Bills have known for a long time that they were going to pay this guy to be their long-term answer. It was just a matter of getting the number and signing on the dotted line that his agents were happy with and the team was happy with. And I'm so glad it's done. And I was so excited. I mean, I was telling everybody around me, most people were like, what? Oh, okay. Is that a big deal? So he's going to stay now? I'm like, yeah, it's great. It's bigger than Christmas and Halloween and everything. I was super pumped. And like I said, moving forward.
Let's give some context to the conversation we're talking about here. So Brandon Beane signed Josh Allen to a very friendly deal. I mean, I think Josh Allen's value probably was a little bit more than what the Bills even gave him. Just think about the deal. So it's a front loaded contract. Josh Allen is a $10.2 million cap hit this year. I believe it goes up to $16 million next year, and then that's where the 6-year extension comes in. So we really have Josh Allen for the next 8 seasons, and I think in 2023 it's like $39.78 million or something like that. So the Bills have 2 years to kind of make some moves, whether they want to keep Ed Oliver, if they want to sign Tremaine Edmonds long term. Those are things that we don't know. And then and then you have the NFL salary cap. They agreed to $208 million for next year, and then who knows what it's going to be after that. So when you think about this deal, you think, okay, 6 years, $258 million, 150 guaranteed. You're like, damn, that seems like a lot of money. But just keep in mind, the new TV deals that are going into play. It's going to increase that salary cap for teams to spend more money. And I got brave on Friday. So I was asked by a Cleveland Browns show, content creators, and they're Locked On Browns, and a couple of, what my reaction to the Josh Allen signing was. And basically I was like, the Bills won because they got ahead of Baker and they got ahead of Lamar Jackson. Yes. And I think that's the thing that we have to be excited about, because now Josh Allen comes in at second behind Patrick Mahomes in terms of, value, guaranteed money. So now if you're the Browns, you're really in a pickle, because you have to say, okay, how much do we believe in Baker Mayfield? And that was a conversation that they were having. And I said, well, right now, Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. And it's not debatable. It's just not debatable anymore. And so it's cool to see that the Bills, once again, Brandon Beane, he's a wizard with the salary cap and how he moves as a GM. We have a top 5 GM in this league, and he showed it by signing Allen to this contract.
Right, and I think we all expected a long deal. I mean, Pat Mahomes' deal was 10 years, and it will become team-friendly in the future, which I'm into. Because, again, like you said, the revenue goes up, the salary cap goes up, and, putting pieces around Josh, is so important for the future. You don't want to be in a Matt Stafford situation where, you're the highest paid guy on the team, and it's just hard to get a complete team together, and you're not winning games. But it's funny you mentioned the revenue goes up every year. The Cardinals are the first stadium to put like betting
gambling
systems in the stadium, so you can gamble during games, and that's the future of the NFL, and that's going to be an insane amount of money moving forward.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lot of money, and I mean, there's some out there who believe in Super Bowl windows, right? Well, if you're one of those, like I believe in the Super Bowl window, I think the best time for the Bills to monopolize or to take that next step is these next 2 years that you have Josh Allen on this still on his rookie contract. So I mean, Big Baller Bean, we know that he's always looking for a deal or something. So I don't worry about that. We have a proactive front office. But yeah, I think the time's now, man. You gotta strike gold. Your draft picks have to be good. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you wholeheartedly there that certainly you have to continue to build the team the way you have. But what Brandon Beane has done that's important that you both have touched on is the percent of salary cap that will be Josh Allen's salary is going to be manageable moving forward, right? This isn't some burdensome 40% of the cap is the quarterback and now you got to make do. It's not a hometown discount, as I think somebody said in the chat. I didn't see who, but it is a team-friendly deal because we're still able to work with that. And Josh Allen wants to win. So if they're like, hey, we want to convert $20 million this year into signing bonus so that you're only this much of a cap, Josh Allen's going to do it every single year, whatever he can to help this team. And with the salary cap going up, as Sterling touched on, that's going to help it tremendously moving forward. The Bills are never going to be in the situation where it's, we're paying our quarterback $43 million a year, which is the average annual value, and now we're screwed. We can't sign a defensive lineman that we need. No, because they've already forward thought that ahead. We need to continue to draft behind these guys if we lose somebody to free agency. We need to continue to sign the guys we want to be mainstays on this team, no matter what the cost is, and make it work and make them the cornerstones of this team. And that has paid off for the Bills so far under this regime. And the only thing missing now is to get over that hump, win the Super Bowl, and then continue with that success.
Hey, Gordon says, Anthony, when does the jacket come out? Is that an in-season thing? So basically, he's equating your jacket to like the McRib, is what he's asking you, right?
Is it McRib season? Let me tell you, when I go to games, the Buffalo Bills suit will always be on. It was 90-something degrees here in Syracuse and in Ithaca today where I was. So I'm rocking the short sleeve, no blazer today. But the Bills blazer, the Bills suit will always be on when I go to the games. Absolutely. So I will see you there, and I'll let you guys know, obviously, when I'm planning to go to the games. But for the podcast, we're changing it up. We're doing different vibes. I'll have a different suit blazer on, you better believe, come regular season. But right now I got the summer stylish look going, I guess. Casual summer. I'm on vacation.
Happens to be August.
Yeah.
I think it's time for Cash or Trash, is it not?
Let's do it.
Eric,
let's go.
We're going to do a little Cash or Trash. That's trash, bro. I'm going to go cash on that.
Let's get
All right,
it.
Sterling, you're up first because Anthony got beat up pretty good last week. So let's go. Number one, Cash or Trash. The Colts will play the Bills in the playoffs with Jacob Eason at the helm.
Okay, hold on. Before you do that, though, we got a super chat.
Yeah.
Super chat from John DeMarchi. He
John?
says, Todd Collins, JP Lossman, Trent Edwards, EJ Manuel, Jeff Toole, Kelly Holcomb, Kevin Cobb, Nate Peterman. This is why you pay Josh. You're absolutely freaking
That's a great point.
Right.
We wanted to pay all these other guys too, but just couldn't.
Listen, a couple things here. It's not Tool time. Kelly Holcomb sounds like a cereal that you would eat. Kevin Cobb hates he falls on mats. Nate Peterman was not the MVP. JP Lossman his arm was just too strong and he just couldn't get it together. Todd Collins is University of Michigan, so that's my homie. Trent Edwards got blasted by Adrian Wilson from the Cardinals, and EJ Manuel likes to throw it at hospitality tents. So this is why
he likes to, but he can't throw it
Josh
that far.
Allen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Love it. Love
John,
it.
Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for the super chat, man. We really appreciate it. All right, so cast or trash. So I'm up. So okay, the Colts will play the Bills in the playoffs with Jacob Eason at the helm.
Carson Wentz is down. Does Eason come in?
That's trash. I think that Eason may not even start the season. Okay, Sam Ehlinger might even start. I mean, they're splitting reps right now. So we don't even know who's going to be QB1. And I think Carson Wentz will definitely, come midseason. I think he'll be ready to go. So no, I don't think that Jacob Eason, if he is, great. I would love to see that. I would love to see it.
Yeah, sure. But I would take that. Give me Jacob Eason in the first round or second round of the playoffs if they make it that far. But this is hardcore trash for me. I don't even think these two rookies who are currently in place because of the injury to Carson Wentz with the Colts they're competing for the backup job. All right. The starter for this team in week 1 is not on this team right now. It's going to be somebody's quarterback who ends up playing well and knows that the Colts need a starter for the first few weeks while Wentz is injured, and they trade for him. All right. So Mitch Trubisky has a better chance of being the starter for the Colts in the playoffs than either of these two guys do. All right. So whoever they trade for is going to come in and be the starter week 1. And that guy, if he plays well, whoever it may be across the NFL, take your pick of quarterbacks who are competing for a starting job, then they will come in. And if they play well, Wentz might not even get a chance. So we'll see. But I think it's going to be some other quarterback not named Eason or the other guy. What's his name? The other young quarterback who's getting starts.
Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah, Ehlinger who's getting snaps for the Colts.
I don't see that. But I will say the Colts team they're built all the way around. Their defensive line improved. Their offensive line's one of the best in the league. Don't forget about the running back that tore it up last year. Not coming to me. Sterling, help me out.
Who are you talking about?
Colts running back.
Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
Okay. Breakout season. Why not just run the football and play good defense? Limit Jacob Eason.
Well, okay, but they have issues on the offensive line. Quentin Nelson's hurt. Another guy's hurt. Mm-hmm. Well, Mitchell Schwartz, I think, is did they get Mitchell Schwartz? But anyway, they got 2 linemen that are hurt with the same injury. So their offensive line is in shambles. Who knows what their backup situation is? Brandon Beane, you can send them a guard.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want,
probably going to be Nick Foles.
Yeah, right. Send them something. Send them a lineman. We got offensive linemen who aren't going to make this roster. Send them one of them.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's something we'll see. But their schedule is pretty dang tough coming out the gate. They got some pretty big games. So
good luck with the Titans.
So that's why I think here's what I would say. The bottom line is for me with this team is they're too good to walk out with Jacob Eason as their starting quarterback week 1, and they know that. Their GM, their head coach, they're smart enough. Those are good guys that I believe in the NFL that I would second to, the guys we got, have them pretty high on my list for guys that I would want running my team. They have done a great job with that Colts organization. And again, they're too smart to say, oh, well, we got this great roster that did pretty well last year and could have made a run in the playoffs. And we were going to roll out Carson Wentz, but now instead we're going to be perfectly content with Jacob Eason starting as our quarterback.
They don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice. They will give up a first-round pick next year for whoever the frig backup quarterback is not going to make.
It's too late.
No, they're going to make that trade. I guarantee you they're going to make a trade before the season comes. It will not be Jacob Eason starting that.
It's too late in the game. It's too late in the game. If they were going to trade for a quarterback, they should have did it.
No, they're going to do it before cutdown day. No, they're going to do it.
Let's get back to the Bills. Move on to the next one. Anthony, you're up again here. Cash or trash? The Lions will play their starters for about 1 quarter. It's a report out of Detroit on Friday, and the Bills should too. An entire quarter for the starters.
Absolute trash yet again. I don't want Josh Allen. I want him to just look at the field. He's going to come out, look at it. Oh, that's nice. And then go back to the locker room. I don't want him out there. That's it. No, the starters should not play in this game. It's weird now, right? When there was 4 preseason games, we all knew how the story went. Like, they might play a series. Oh, they might play a quarter. Then they play the scrimmage game, and then they don't play, right? But now there's only 3 games, and we don't know quite what that layout's going to be. It's probably going to be different for teams until they find out what the best pattern is for doing this moving forward. just because the Lions have a totally new team, basically a new head coach, new everything. They need to figure stuff out. So they're going to roll out their starters and they're going to be like, okay, what can we do? Okay, where's our biggest areas of needs? They are one of the worst teams in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. So they need to figure stuff out. The Bills are in a good place, completely opposite. There are competitions that guys need to be out there for. Don't get me wrong, that D-line better see some action. We're talking about that in this episode. Those guys need to be out there because we need to see what they can do against competition. Where you start them and when, you're going to have to figure that out. But Jerry Hughes doesn't need to play. And obviously Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, all the starters, maybe some of the guys who need to get some work in that you feel, haven't gotten enough reps yet and you just want them to do a couple series. I'm okay with that for the starters, but all of the starters, absolutely not. You're not seeing the field.
Throw in what you got.
Oh, that's trash. That's so trash. Look, I don't want any of the starters to play. I mean, if you want to try out some of the offensive linemen, just for continuity's sake, I would do that. I want to see what these rookies can do. I want to see them play a good quarter or two. Guys like Zimmer, Epinesa. I want to see, I want to see him take some snaps. But yeah, I don't. The starters don't need to play. I definitely don't want to see Josh Allen. I don't even want to see Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
I would much rather see Jake Fromm and Webb. Throw them out there.
It's a Fromm kind of day. Let's see what you got, Fromm. You haven't played a snap at all.
About him, but Trubisky even. Let's get Trubisky in there.
No.
But
he's the best. The reason I don't want to see Trubisky is the same thing. Trubisky is the protection for Josh Allen. It's the first preseason game.
I think it's
Jake Fromm, throw out Webb. Let's see what they got.
And that's a good question too. Does the strategy change because now there's 3 games instead of 4? They used to have the 4th preseason game would be the basically compete for the bottom spots game, and that seems to be, that doesn't exist anymore. So now is it, is the 3rd game now that game? So I mean, how much playing time do the starters need to gel so they don't come out in week 1 and look sloppy? I mean, it's important to get the timing right and all those things.
So I think you got to look at it like this. I think you have to look at the preseason the same way. Just take out the 4th game because in the 3rd, I think it's the 3rd game where your starters play like a quarter to 2 quarters, right? And they kind of sit everybody in the 4th game. So I think you're just taking out that 4th meaningless game. But by that time, you should have your roster pretty much. I mean, they should know who they're rolling with. I mean, it shouldn't be these competitions for the Bills' sake. I mean, because our roster's so deep. But I mean, I think it's more for those teams, with new head coaches and unproven quarterbacks or unproven players at certain positions where these snaps mean a whole lot more. So I think it's going to be beneficial to first-team defenses. Or defenses in whole, just because we have a full offseason to go off of now. Last year, we didn't have that offseason, so the defenses were kind of rough. But I think it's gonna be cool to see at least. And John is back with another super chat. He says Obata said his story was a glitch in the Matrix. Is he going to be the glitch? Love Obata and Eric Turner's Cover 1 video on Obata was awesome. Yeah, a shout out to my guy Eric. Man, you talk about guys who watch film. Like in his knowledge of the game is just incredible, man. He puts a lot of us to shame when it comes to film watching and his analysis. So yeah, he did a fantastic job on Obata. You can go check that out on our Cover 1 YouTube. So yeah, all the videos on there from the film room. We do those every single week throughout the year, pretty much. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. And as far as Obata is concerned, I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, and there's no way he's not making this team. From what Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott have said about him this offseason and in training camp, F.A. Obata's here to stay. And one of the things that we're going to get into depth as we go on along in the show when we start talking about the defensive line is the ability to reduce down, to play defensive tackle and pass rush situations or play on the edge. And Obata does those things very well. He has violent hands. He has an array of pass rush moves in his tool belt already. This is a guy that is in the NFL Europe program, where you're bringing guys over. He's never played football before. And so he showed out last year. I think he had like 5.5 sacks that would have led the Bills. So I think Obata's going to be something to he's going to be a problem.
Sterling, if you remember, I think Eric was out for that show where you asked me about at the beginning, just before training camp started, who's the player you're watching or who's the guy you want? And it was F.A. Obata was the first name that came to my mouth because I agree with everything you just said. The guy it can contribute for this team. What I've seen on his tape, I'd never heard of him before the Bills traded for him. But then I watched his play and I heard more about him. And I was just like, man, this guy fits. He would have led the Bills in sacks, as you said. He can really contribute on this team. And he's now proving that through the first couple weeks of training camp. And I'm just like, yes, this is the guy I want on this team. His story, everything about him is just amazing. I don't know if he wants the nickname The Glitch, which would be interesting.
That's dope, though.
Sounds like he's got a stutter step or something, like, woo, you're gone. There
The thing I love about Obata, though, 3 years ago, 187 defensive snaps. 2 years ago, 306 defensive snaps. Last year, 415 defensive snaps. He's growing, right? His playing time's going up. He's figuring out the game.
It's the Buffalo Bills way. Develop those players.
3 years ago, he had 10 quarterback pressures. 2 years ago, he had 6 quarterback pressures. And last year, 21 quarterback pressures. So he comes over to Buffalo at the right time. He's projecting upward. That trend line's going up. And that's what you want to see, when they bring guys in.
Yeah, you definitely you're looking for that improvement. Another guy you could throw in there is Ed Oliver. He's another guy coming into year 3. You want to see some of that big production. And for those of you out there, you got to look at guys like Grady Jarrett. He had I think he had 9 sacks in his first 2 seasons together. You look at guys like let's see, who's another guy? Jarrell Casey didn't blossom until his 3rd year. So defensive tackle, it's not one of those positions where you just come in and you're just dominant right away. It takes time to learn the nuances of the position. And then you got to look at the continuity in terms of who's in the room when it comes to defensive tackles. And, Ed Oliver got to shine year 1 as a rookie because Starr was next to him. Right. And Starr was eating up some of those double teams. So Ed Oliver got to go 1v1 a lot of times, and he won. He won.
And we're all excited to see what he can do with Starr coming back. So that's going to be huge for him this year.
Yeah.
But thank you, John, for that super chat. Again, super chats will always get discussed. If you send us that super chat, we'll start up the conversation right away, no matter where we're at. But we're in the middle of cash or trash, right?
I got one more cash or trash.
All right, go for it.
Make it a quick one here. Sterling, you're up. Cash or trash, the Bills' cornerback and running back competition will be settled in week 1 versus the Lions.
It's already settled. I think it's already settled. They know who they want. And I'll tell you this. I think it's going to be Moss. I think he's going to be RB1. And I think, Levi Wallace is QB2. I don't see, Devin Singletary. These running backs, they are what they are, right? I would love to see Matt Breida take some snaps away, but from early reports, they're going to be using Matt Breida situationally, kind of like we all thought. So he will have a role in this offense, so you can book him on the roster as well. So, but I think, game 1 against Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be Zach Moss as your starting running back 1. But does that really matter when they all kind of, interchange the snaps? No, but I think he's going to be the first one out there.
That's what I mean. I don't know how to answer this question because it's already settled. So is that cash or is that trash in this case? And exactly what Sterling said at the end there was going to be my point that I disagreed with him on. I don't think there is such thing as CB1 and RB1 on this team, or CB2 technically and RB1, right? We know Trey White's on one side, but the 2 guys on the other side, all those guys, that CB2 position is rotational. Who's taking the first snap? Yeah, it's Levi Wallace. We knew that 3 months ago. We predicted that, right? We were all on that same page. It's most likely going to be Levi Wallace. That doesn't mean Levi Wallace is playing every snap like Trey White is. That's not happening. No, he's going to rotate with Dane Jackson, with whoever else shines and makes this roster at that time, right? Situationally, when Levi comes out, somebody else is going to go in.
Right.
So it's the RB1. I do disagree with Sterling. Moss and Singletary, I don't see a RB1 necessarily there. They have said constantly, we're playing the hot hand. We'll play whoever's there. Who gets the first snap on the first game? I don't know. I think it's Singletary. Right. I'm still thinking it's Singletary, but it's not going to matter. It's going to to be this series, next series, this series, next.
Right.
So it's
case by case, package by package.
Exactly.
But Zach Moss is the RB1 based on what? Singletary had the majority of the carries. Mm-hmm. We haven't got to game time yet.
Well,
what Singletary comes into Detroit and has a phenomenal game, hits the hole, looks in shape, looks fresh. Things can change in the preseason.
For sure.
He had a good day at camp today, as reported by Matt Perino. Singletary and Breida both had big days today, and Moss, I believe, didn't participate in the team activities. Hopefully he's not dealing with an injury. No injury report on that yet. But yeah, I love to hear that. Singletary is making moves out there, playing RB1, quote unquote, today in practice.
Yeah.
And Breida did well as well today. But as Sterling
Wallace
said, I think we've all come to the conclusion that Breida will be on this team.
And they're finally going to let Levi Wallace just have the job this year.
Yes.
Every year he's just out-competed a veteran, and now he doesn't have to do that. So kudos to him.
I don't know about have. He's certainly earned it. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, Dane Jackson's easy competition when you're competing against a guy like Josh Norman, who's been around the league, who knows the league, he knows how to play,
And as an undrafted rookie before that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's head to the inside slant. This is the part of our show where we talk all things Bills, the latest and the greatest. And we kind of go to our subject matter for the night. That's what we're going to discuss right now. And we're talking defensive line. Okay. So we're going defensive line here. And, looking back on this, on the 2020 season, we come in and the Bills invested a lot in their defensive line. Anthony, what was the overall cap number they invested in defensive line last year?
Oh, man, it depends on how deep you want to go. So what I looked at was basically our top 6, right? So that's last year's roster in terms of salary. That would be Mario Addison, Trent Murphy, Jerry Hughes, Vernon Butler, Quentin Jefferson, and Ed Oliver. AJ Epinesa would be next on that list, but obviously he was a rookie. And Starr opted out, so we're not including him here. But Addison was almost 10 million cap hit, 9.9 million. Trent Murphy, 9.7 million. Jerry Hughes, 9.5 million. So you round those, that's about 30 million. And the next 2 are at 7 million. So you're already at 44 million. And then Ed Oliver's about 4 million. So about $48 million in total cap for, this is according to Spot Track, for the defensive line last year, those top 6 guys. That's an insane amount. It was a record at the time. And obviously it did not work out the way the Bills had hoped when they brought in these guys.
Right. And so that's why I bring that up, is because, when you spend that much money, the Bills spent more money on their defensive line than any other team in the league last year. And this is the results. I'm going to read to you some of the statistics that the Bills defense had. Okay. They were 15th in sacks with 38. They were 14th in quarterback hits with 92. They were 9th in tackles for loss, which is good, at 72. They were 10th in net yards gained at 6.1. They were 14th in percentage of time sacked when attempting to pass at 6.2. That was 14th in the league. And rushing, they were 20th in rushing attempts. So 414 there. The least amount of attempts was by Tampa with 358. This kind of give you a little scope there. They were 16th in rush yards allowed with 1,914. 6th in rushing touchdowns allowed, with 21. And they were 25th in rush yards per attempt with 4.6 yards a carry. Now we can go on and on and on about statistics, but the bottom line here is that the Bills underperformed with their defensive line, and I think it hurt them later in the season and in the playoffs when it came to playing the Chiefs twice, right? And we saw this through the theme throughout the year. The Bills get a lead. You look at games like when we played against the LA Rams, where we had a big lead. The Rams came back. I know that the defense is going to have their day. They're going to be good. They're going to have their times where they're not firing all cylinders. But the overarching thing was Sean McDermott is known for his defensive prowess. Him and Leslie Frazier, they usually have top 5 defenses, right? Last year, we were not that. We were a shell of what we typically are. And it was concerning. And I think it starts up front. It starts up front. And so what I want to do tonight, let's just talk about, how the Bills can improve. Let's talk about the guys that are in the room right now, right? Then they let some people go this past offseason. Quentin Jefferson, most notable one. Trent Murphy is another guy they did not bring back. But what is it going to look like this season for the Bills and their defensive line? And so when I start, so I'm looking at film, I'm watching stuff, from AJ Epinesa to our rookies right now, and you go, this could be really special, really special. So here's a little bit of scope, okay? And I'm going to give you guys this, and we're going to move on real quick, guys. But I want to give you sack numbers, because at the end of the show, I want you guys to give me the sack predictions by number, okay? So in Sean McDermott's career, he started as a defensive coordinator with the Eagles in 2009, okay? In those 12 seasons as he's defensive coordinator and head coach, he's only had 5 double-digit sack leaders on his team. So that means there's 5 players who reach double-digit sacks. So we all know the reason why that is because they platoon, right? You got guys playing 50% of the snaps. They kind of do halftime, right? So most notable, Trent Cole in 2009 with 12.5 sacks. Greg Hardy in 2013 with 15 sacks in the Sean McDermott defense. That's crazy to think about. Mario Addison led a couple of times with 9.5 sacks. Kawan Short from the defensive tackle position with 11 sacks in 2015. That's the year that they went to the Super Bowl. And then since, he's taken over the Bills, the most sacks that we've had in the season was 9.5 by Jordan Phillips, but we know he got half of those in one game, right? So you guys know that I don't really appreciate pressures. I'm not a pressure guy, but think back on the past few weeks. I'm starting. I want you guys' opinion on this. Pressures matter in this defense? They do. They really do matter. What do you guys think about sacking the quarterback versus quarterback pressures and what that looks like on a stat sheet?
Yeah, we've had this debate a few times, but I'm a quarterback pressures guy, because anytime you can make the quarterback throw it off platform, the chance of a good pass goes down. The probability of a good pass goes down.
Great point.
Obviously, I think Mahomes is an outlier, right? That dude can throw it backwards and it'll be a perfect pass. But, I mean, and with the rules being as strict as they are, I mean, we see Josh get these calls all the time. I think the pressures is more, the future of the NFL. It's disruption. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the sack is a momentum gaining play. So it's still like what you want to see. But when you're just a little bit late, or you hit them in the wrong area, you get that 15-yard penalty. It's a morale killer.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a momentum killer.
I'm
all about the pressures, the strip sacks, that's what I go for. And, believe it or not, Obata has, one of the highest,
pressure
snaps with percentage of pressures at 5%. That's one of the highest ones on the roster.
It's pretty good. And
that
highlights Obata again. I think I agree with everything Eric said. And I would add that sacks have become, I don't want to say, but increasingly they're more like a lucky stat, right? If you can get pressures, that proves that you consistently get pressures. That proves you are a good defensive lineman. You are getting through and getting to the quarterback and making them move and making them make decisions, as Eric said. Getting sacks can be a lucky thing, right? If you got 2 guys next to you, they get double teamed and you are more free and you're more likely to get to the quarterback faster and tackle him, or you're playing in a division with less quarterbacks that are able to be mobile or whatever it may be, and you're able to rack up a few extra hits that, playing in a division where there's more mobile quarterbacks, you scramble and get them out of the pocket, and that's what you want to do. It's all a situational thing. So sacks as a measurement are more about luck, even on the team, even during a play, right? If a quarterback gets sacked, it's rarely just, oh, wow, this guy beat his guy and sacked the quarterback and that's it. It's this guy was double teamed, this guy was one-on-one, he got free, he made the move, and then he hit the quarterback. So really it's shared between the D-line. But last year underperformed by far. Remember, last year at this time, we were talking about this D-line breaking the sacks record because we were so hyped about who they brought in. And they severely disappointed that. And I know we blame it on the absence of Star, but he's back this year.
That's not the only reason.
Whatever happens. I know, it's definitely not the only. You can't just blame that. Oh, Star's back, because Sterling and I were all over Star. Yes, Sterling and I were all over Star in the previous season about where the heck are you? What are you doing? So maybe he contributes more than we thought, but I don't think he's the end all be all. Oh my God, we're good again because Star's back. I'm not about that either.
So I agree with what you guys are saying. I think sacks are important. They're not a lucky stat. Not knocking you, Anthony.
That's a bad word. I couldn't think of a better word. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's like
it's important. If that's the icing on
everyone
the cake.
knows what a lucky.
But you have
is.
to because quarterbacks, are getting the ball out so quick now, and against this Bills defense, they're getting the ball out quick, right? So
mobility,
it's going to be hard,
right?
And it's going to be hard to generate a lot of sack totals. So we're not. It's not going to be about the sack numbers. We do need the number to increase overall sacks for the team, but what you guys are talking about, it's about disrupting pass lanes. It's about getting the quarterback off his spot, getting them to scramble. And so when I think about all that, I stop and I go, damn. I appreciate Brandon Beane more because guess what? And this gets me excited is because he built this team to play with a lead. Think about it. Brandon Beane built this team to play with the lead. You see, every offseason, we have this idea of what the Bills need to do. And it's fun to speculate, right? But Brandon Beane takes us to task every single year. That's why he went out, got a guy like Obata. He goes in the draft and drafts two defensive ends, when Carlos Basham and Gregory Rousseau, because he understands that the offense is so good, right? We don't necessarily need sack numbers, but we do need to disrupt the quarterback and cause chaos with pressure, whether that's up the middle or on the edges, right? So now you're bringing in two, and I know that these two rookies, and I know they're rookies or whatever, but what they bring to the table, what's in their tool shed is so important and so vital. Guys like Obata and what Ed Oliver brings, what Star Lotulelei does, they do their 111th, right? So here's a little. I was just thinking about Basham real quick, and I'll rattle this up. So in 2020, Basham, he started his college season off with a sack in each game in 5 games. Okay. He's versatile. He can kick down inside. He can play defensive tackle. 88% of his snaps were at 5 tech, so he was on the outside. And then his last 2 seasons on third down, he produced 9 sacks on 51 pressures. His last 2 seasons combined, that's production. So he's a guy that we think that could come in, right? And on pass rush downs or even early rush downs, right? So we've heard Brandon Beane talk this offseason that he talked about Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison playing more in the pass rush situations, right? Third down situations. So I think he's going to let these young guys get out there, Epinesa, let these young guys get out there on early downs to stop the run. Okay, so now check this out. Carlos Basham's good at stopping the run. Gregory Rousseau is very good at contain and stopping the run. I mean, he is building a complete team. And sometimes, we get so caught up in what we think we know or what we think they're going to do. And he comes around and he throws us two fastballs like that. And you're thinking, but why? And as you go into preseason and what we've heard from minicamp, what we've heard from training camp is that it's just simple. The Bills were built to play with the lead. Josh Allen, that offense is going to start off hot. They want to put the pressure on you so that you have to throw the ball. This is a bend don't break defense. So anything in between the 20s, right? They're going to give you. But in the red zone where they need to improve their red zone numbers. I'll show you the numbers here in a minute. They need to improve there. But this is a team that's built to play the lead, and they're going to bring pressure by bringing 4. So go ahead. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
2 quick things here. Thank you, Jason, for high variance play is better than saying lucky, because lucky doesn't sum it up enough because they do work for it still. Don't get me wrong. That year, Jordan Phillips had 9 sacks or whatever it was, 9.5. He worked for it, but it was a product of the guys around him and the play and the team itself.
Right.
Not just, Jordan Phillips is that damn good that he gets 9 sacks a year. No, right. And Jerry, the same is true of Jerry Hughes. He's the guy that people who play the Bills, that's the guy they circle. We need to figure out where Jerry Hughes is. He's still got those pressures. He might not have gotten home because the quarterback knows where Jerry Hughes is on the field at all times and is probably running in the opposite direction. Right. So that's what I meant by that. I like that high variance thing. And secondly, I think basically to complement what you said, Sterling, it's the threat of pressure, right? If you only have to look at Jerry Hughes and you know where he is and you're not scared of everybody else because they're not producing or they're not threatening, then, you circle that and you target that and you don't get many sacks. But now that they have these fresh legs, these young guys, this rotation of guys who are double threats, they can play against the run, but they are big dudes that you will know where they are on the field and you have to be aware of. And there's that threat of constant pressure. They could send sacks on any play now with the guys they got, no matter who's out there. So it's a pretty good place to be in for the Bills, and especially Sean McDermott, who likes to constantly rotate that defensive line. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems to me that they targeted length. Greg Rousseau, incredible length. And you don't necessarily have to get, to the quarterback to disrupt the play, right? You can kind of push the line back and reach in.
Do this.
And, we didn't see a ton of that last season. I feel like in the playoffs, the defensive line just kind of got locked up. So, I mean, I think that was something they wanted to address in the offseason is get some more disruption, whatever that means. I think length certainly helps that. So I'm really excited to see Greg Rousseau in that role. Basham, I think, needs to work on his run defense a little bit. We'll see. I think that was one of the knocks on him in the draft. His pass defense was way better than his run defense. But he's at 285 playing weight. I mean, that's a big guy, So, I mean, it'll be interesting how they rotate it. And obviously, Jerry Hughes, whoever plays opposite Jerry Hughes, will likely have more opportunities to rush the passer. So it's really going to be a fun preseason and season to see, what these rookies turn into. You can have high expectations for both these guys moving forward. I mean, how many years does Jerry Hughes have left?
Right.
It's not much left. I'd say you'd like to see one of these guys, take ownership before the season's over and lock down one of those positions.
So for you guys, for the fans out there, if you want to see a preview of what this defensive line can look like, go back and watch film games from the 2015 season. When you talk about tools and like roles, like this was the best Sean McDermott defense that they've had in 2015. They had guys like Charles Johnson at defensive end. Star Lotulelei was a young. Kawan Short was dominant. They had DeJuan Edwards, who was a good defensive tackle, spot defensive tackle. Coney Ely was a good draft pick that they had. Mario Addison was young during that time. So you got these. And I think this Bills defensive line right now, I think it's better than the one that they had in 2015. I mean, you got guys that they all kind of have a specialty and they're versatile. I mean, we should really see the Bills improve because, the original question was, where will we see them improve, right? I think we'll see them improve across the board statistically when it comes to the play of the defensive line. I think you're going to see them improve in run defense. I think Starr being there really is going to help. And I think Ed Oliver being more disciplined and being able to anchor down when he's in that defensive tackle was going to help the Bills. And I think Carlos Basham, for anything that you want to say about him, he's really good at stopping the run. He is very active as a very quick first step. He knows how to use leverage. He uses a spin move that's really nasty. Go check him out. But we all should be excited about this defensive line. And I guess I'm guilty because I kind of been sleeping on it. I'm so focused about the offense because that's shiny. That's something, it's so much fun to talk about the offense, but the defensive line, I think the defensive line is the catalyst to get the Bills to where they want to go this year. Is the catalyst to get the Bills to the Super Bowl. You want to know something really cool that I was doing some research. So I went back and watched, okay, how did the Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, right? They had a guy at defensive tackle. He was basically playing contain the whole time. He was playing contain, and he was standing up. His hand wasn't in the dirt. Arden Key. He was just mirroring Patrick Mahomes, following him, running around all over the place, just creating pressure. And so they were able to create pressure with 4 guys on the defensive line and drop 8. And they played cover 2. They had cover 2 and some cover 1 looks, and it gave Mahomes fits. Look at to the Super Bowl. They didn't do the spy with the defensive tackle, with the athletic defensive tackle. So like Gregory Rousseau will be perfect. You can even use Carlos Basham for that. But they beat him because they beat him up front with their 4. Tampa has a really good front 4. They got pass rushers. Well, guess what? The Bills, they got pass rushers now. They got Mario Addison. What they say, he's coming in. He's looking great. Right, he's coming in. His mind's where it needs to be. Because Mario Addison we expected Mario Addison to at least have 8 sacks last year. He didn't even have that, right? So this is gonna be fun. Do not sleep on these Bills on that defensive line because these dudes are gonna be nasty. and it's going to be what we expected them to be last year, which they were the highest paid defensive line, but they didn't show it.
Yes, and
coming in this year is going to be great.
Speaking of highest paid, by the way, if you kind of run the numbers again with the top 6 coming into 2021, top 6 being top 6 paid, that would be Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Starr, Ed Oliver, Vernon Butler, and Greg Rousseau at $2 million is in the top 6 now. So we went from about 48 roughly to about 37. So $11 million cheaper, but younger, more energy, more exciting in that those top guys. And the depth obviously is what Sterling was talking about there. We got depth at the defensive line in spades. People are not going to make this roster who could start for a lot of other teams in the NFL. Start. So this is going to be a challenging position here, and I firmly believe that. I mean, any one of these guys at the bottom of this roster could start on another team in the NFL, easily 8 teams in the NFL, I'd say. It's interesting, and I don't know. I don't know who's not going to make this roster, but it's got to be one of the most exciting questions come cut down day.
Eric, thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's only 2 members of the defensive line that are trending up in both snap count and quarterback pressures, and that's Ed Oliver and Justin Zimmer. And I think all the reports out now is Justin Zimmer's having a great camp again.
Yeah.
You know, this guy, I think he makes the roster. It's just somebody who gets after the quarterback. He had 9 quarterback pressures last season. You know, it's something to pay attention to. You know, the defensive tackles as well are part of that. Getting that big push up the middle can really disrupt plays. And I think we lacked that a little bit last season with Starr out. You know, he's not a push guy. I think he's more finesse, and he does, you know, great with that. But just to get some sort of push or you know,
pressure,
more pressure up the middle would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, you know, Boogie Basham and Greg Rousseau are both interior rush guys as well.
Yeah, and Gregory Rousseau wins more consistently, we've seen, from the inside. And there's another caveat
in the one
to
season
this.
that we've seen, right?
Right, and there's a caveat to all this. Eric Washington's coming to his second year coaching the defensive line. He was a new defensive line coach, or coming over, last year. So there was a lot of things that didn't manifest themselves to be beneficial for this unit. You know, and like I said, Starr is an average defensive tackle. Okay, he's not. I don't think he's anything special, but he has a niche and he does a few things well. Okay, and I think if everybody comes in, you know, with the mindset doing their 111th with this defensive line, man, think about the combinations, the packages that you can put out when you want to go big or you want to go with speed. I mean, this only helps people like Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison the most, because now they don't have to play on those rundowns. They talked about it at the beginning of the offseason, how they, you know, let these young guys come in and play on those early downs and let us come in and pin our ears back. They're veterans. They know the nuances of pass rushing and so forth. So, and then you have guys like we've been talking about, you know, Carlos Basham, Gregory Rousseau, 6'7", get your hands up. I mean, and disrupt passing lanes and so forth. Ed Oliver has a knack for disrupting pass lanes by throwing his hands up there. I mean,
Greg Rousseau was a wide receiver before he was in high school.
That's
so
true.
I mean, that helps.
and Starr is not above average. I'm sorry, he is average. He is average. You're not gonna win that one, buddy. But I appreciate you. But yeah, Justin Zimmer is the guy that I'm really intrigued by, because, you know, when you look at his film and you look at some of the PFF ratings, they have him 31st in terms of defensive grade for interior defensive lineman. He was 28th out of 136 defensive tackles. His grade was 71.3 in run defense, and he was 46 overall in pass rush pressure. So this is a guy that when he plays, you know, he had 338 snaps last year. When he plays, he's effective.
And that's what I was going to add as well. You don't need a stat sheet to tell you that Justin Zimmer balls out. All right. The guy got us a W last year against the Patriots when he knocked that fumble loose.
That's enough for me.
It was exactly. Yeah. But that's what I mean. He makes plays. If you're watching the full game as a Bills fan, you can't avoid seeing him when he's playing. He makes his presence known. You know where he is. He makes a play. He might mess up every once in a while. Nobody's perfect, but the guy still has a presence on this team and has succeeded when he got his chance. Remember, he got cut last year and then he came back, and then he got the chance to play and he shined. So that's why I think that I agree with. I think both of you have said you think Zimmer is going to make the roster. I think he has to, because the team knows what he can do. They believe in him.
Yeah.
I saw this comment earlier as well. It's we already talked about the fact that it's not about the pressure. It's about where the pressure is coming from and who's on the other side. Because if you just have pressure on one side, sure, the quarterback can avoid Jerry Hughes and he might get pressure, but he hasn't more time to throw it away. But if somebody else is coming on that other side that is a threat to bring pressure, then you can't just run away from that one guy. You got pressure coming both ways, and that's going to lead to more production defensively.
And another thing to mention, a quarterback that's going to play against this Bills defensive front, you're going to have to be decisive and make your decisions, know your hot routes and stuff, and get the ball out quick. Because if you are one of those quarterbacks that needs to make plays out of chaos, that's not gonna benefit you, because the Bills have a plethora of nuanced pass rushers, and they have athleticism. If there's any position group on the defense that I would say has athleticism, it's that defensive line. I mean, you got some athletes on that defensive line, so I think they're gonna be really good, and I think they're gonna be a lot better than we even think they're gonna be. I'm not saying that this is the best defensive line in the league, but what I'm telling you is this is one of the deepest defensive line rotations in the NFL. Period. I would go on to say that it's probably one of the top 3 deepest defensive line units in the NFL.
Yeah, so that brings us to, like, who's going to make it? How many are going to make it? That's going to be a tough call.
I mean,
okay.
There's a lot of
okay.
Just to cap it off, there's a lot of unproven talent on this roster as well. AJ Epinesa, I mean, we're getting good reports out of camp, but I mean, it seemed like he really showed up late in the season last year, but will that carry over? Hard to tell. You got 2 rookies, even
guys
Oliver, coming in
right?
from other teams.
Ed Oliver, has to prove that he was a top 10 pick. Yeah,
but we can trust him. I feel like it's maybe I'm wrong here, but is the defensive tackle room, is that a little undersized? If Vernon Butler doesn't make the roster, you got Starla Tulele, Ed Oliver,
somebody
Harrison
did
Phillips,
the calculation
Justin Zimmer. That's a little undersized, in my opinion. You like to see big guys that get a big push. But I mean, maybe that's the strategy from the top. Maybe they wanted more finesse, defensive tackle room. But that's definitely a scenario that could play out. Those 4 guys make the roster, and Vernon Butler gets cut.
So you're okay.
So when he talks about depth, it's like, well, top 15, in my opinion.
What?
I wouldn't say top 5.
I would say, I think
depth-wise.
So. Depth-wise.
Who are you? Okay, well, let's get to the conversation of who you're cutting, because I already said that some of these guys that are getting cut will make another team and start for them. Like, this is nuts. So let's see who we got then. If that's our next conversation. Where are we going to start, Sterling? How are we going to do this?
Okay, I'll start right here.
Go ahead.
The Bills kept 8 defensive linemen in 2017. That's 4 defensive ends, 4 defensive tackles. In 2018, it was 9. 5 defensive ends, 4 defensive tackles. In 2019, 9 again, 4 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles. Last year it was 10 defensive linemen, 6 defensive ends, 4 defensive tackles. Me personally, I'm going with 10 again, because like you said, there is a lot of young talent here. There's a lot of investment in this defensive line. When you look at, the money they spent on Hughes, the money they spent on Addison, and then you have, basically, 2 second-round picks and Epinesa and Basham and a first-round pick. I mean, I think they go 10 just to develop that talent. So,
So who you got then?
All right. So which one you want first? Defensive tackle or defensive end?
Just lump them. It's all one room right now.
All right. So let's go defensive end. I got Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Obata, Epinesa, Basham, and Rousseau.
Okay. Rousseau. But go ahead. Gotcha.
And cut Daryl Johnson.
Oh.
Conversation in a minute. Defensive tackle, Starla Tulele, Ed Oliver, Harrison Phillips, and Justin Zimmer. But now I have concerns are they undersized? Do they keep Vernon Butler just to have that? Because if Star goes down, you're very, very undersized.
So if you keep, so you're worried about keeping Vernon Butler, then who's your other cut line if they keep Vernon Butler?
I'd probably say Justin Zimmer.
You're cutting Justin Zimmer.
Yeah, I think I would have to. I mean, unless you want to cut Harrison Phillips.
So we just praised Justin Zimmer. Now this is back to my
right, but
point.
I mean, but
But,
that's
okay, hold
that's
on.
the debate because
Yeah.
I think you have guys that can do what Justin Zimmer does, but do you have the guy that can do what Vernon Butler does and use his
Size-wise.
weight and plug the hole?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Or plug a gap.
I mean, so it's
Great
interesting. I was going to bring this up as well. John mentioned it here in the comments. Vernon Butler about to get a mysterious injury and go on PUP. He already has an injury. He just went down a couple days ago with concussion, being evaluated for concussion or head injury. I guess they're calling it head injury rather than concussion. But I honestly think that could happen. Vernon Butler, who has reworked his contract and has this guaranteed deal, he's got a head injury, season-ending IR, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that's because that's where we're at right now.
Not
with
right now.
this stacked
And
line.
why not throw Daryl Johnson in that room
if he's,
too?
I mean, it's obviously has to be a serious injury. They're not going to just call it, but if the guy's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, then maybe you do put him on season-ending IR.
But who said he's out for 4 to 6 weeks? I said
I said if he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, you have to start considering it.
And Vernon Butler's bad last year. I mean,
they also have that IR with the ability to return, which could be useful.
All right, so Anthony, go do your list.
So I said all that because Vernon Butler is cut on my list. I'll start with that. So Vernon Butler is one of the guys I'm cutting. His production last year did not impress me. They reworked his contract, which made it seem like, okay, you are a guy we want to keep. But if you have been listening to the camp battles and what the coaches are saying about each of these guys, it's an intense competition because they love a lot of these guys. They love, not like, he's really good and we're happy we have him and all this. They love guys like Justin Zimmer, who we've talked about. So I think we can all agree Addison and Hughes are pretty much the starters or the top two, whatever you want to call them. And Starr is going to make this team because of his rework guarantee contract, unless something crazy happens. So again, I think that's a guarantee. Ed Oliver obviously going to make the team. Rousseau and Basham as rookies, I think they will make the team. Remember what McDermott likes to do with rookies is bring them onto the squad, active 53, and then inactive for a couple of games or whatever until they get their feet wet. And I think that very much could happen with a guy like Rousseau and Basham in those first couple of weeks if they aren't quite ready to see action. And that would allow the Bills to keep, I think, also at least 10 defensive linemen. There are other competitions here, so I don't think they can go 11. I don't think that's possible, but they have to keep 10. So the other major cut. So I'm keeping. So what did I say already? Hughes, Addison, Starr, Ed Oliver. I'm cutting Vernon Butler, Greg Rousseau. F.A. Obata is my guy. He's definitely making the team. AJ Epinesa, Justin Zimmer, and then I only got one left, right? So Harrison Phillips is the next guy we haven't had the conversation about. I want to keep Harrison Phillips. I think he is that, star fill-in option. We saw what he could do before his injury. The biggest question is, can he fully recover from that injury and be the guy he was when they started playing him in place of Starr 2 years ago? So I don't know where that's at, and I feel like he is the bubble guy. Daryl Johnson I have to cut, which is nuts because, again, they praised Daryl Johnson. We know how they feel about his special teams ability, about his ability to fill in when needed in the defensive position. He's certainly not a starter on the defensive line, but he flashes when he gets chances there, and he's a star on defense or on special teams, and they love him there. So if you're cutting him on special teams, who's taking those special team snaps? Like you're going to put one of the rookies out there? Yeah, you got to find somebody to make up for that. If you cut him,
right? But is it easier to fill that than it is to find somebody to fill those defensive snaps? That's the great debate.
I think so. That's why
I think it's easier to fill the special teams role.
Better yet, I don't like the term cut. I've been saying trade, right? These guys are trade material. These aren't cut, maybe make another roster material. They're certainly trade for minimum a 5th round pick or something. So you're getting something back for one of these.
Yeah, and Harrison Phillips, if he gets cut, all the car dealerships in the area are going to be broken.
Yeah, because he was definitely invested in the Buffalo
He's
face.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think they freaking care. I don't think the cap. I don't think the cap really plays into who gets cut or not.
I don't either. That's why Vernon
Yeah.
Butler. I mean, come on, you've done nothing. There's 10 other
Right.
guys who are better than you on this team.
He's
You've
a big
gotta go.
body. He's a big body.
Yeah.
But outside of that, what have you done for me? Nothing. You got to go. So I got Hughes, Oliver, Addison, Basham, Starr, Rousseau, Obata, Zimmer, and Epinesa. I'm cutting Phillips, Butler. And if I can keep 10, Johnson makes the squad. If I can only keep 9 in the defensive line room, then he gets cut. Now, Johnson is a 4-phase special teamer, so he has value. He will get picked up by someone if he's cut.
That's what I mean.
Harrison Phillips, I think his value is probably a 6th-round draft pick right now. I think you're not going to get much more than that from him. Vernon Butler, you're not going to be able to trade him unless there's a team that's really they're starving. And then I wanted to address a comment from a guy who said that we just like all the players. I think if you go and you look at some of the depth charts of the teams around the league and compare them to the Bills, you'll see that if there's one thing that the Bills pride themselves on is depth. And there's a lot of depth. I didn't say there was like a lot of elite talent. We don't have we don't have elite talent, but we have depth, and I think that's important when you look at the defensive line, because you're going to have injuries, and the fact that they play these guys,
rotationally, right? That's what McDermott does.
Right. It makes a big difference. So you have to have depth. Otherwise, you wouldn't play these guys in a rotation basis. So, go look at some of the other defensive line rooms and compare them to the Bills. But you also have to look at potential. That's part of it too. Coaches do look at potential, like what you can be. They do look at the investment and the asset that they use to acquire you. So those things do matter. And the Bills, and I will say, they have a top 5 defensive line unit depth-wise in the league. And it's just we don't have the top end talent. It hasn't materialized yet. But let's look at when Epinesa comes into his own. If he comes into his own this year, you have an Ed Oliver who needs to come into his own year 3. And if just by those two alone, if those two can take the next step, holy shit, the Bills defensive line is going to cause problems for a lot of teams. Mark my words. You heard it here first, folks. So
this is a great comment too. Are we judging Butler because he did nothing? The whole D-line did nothing. Yes. But the rumor was in the offseason that they approached Butler and Quentin Jefferson and said, hey, we want to rework your contract. Jefferson said no. So they're like, okay, see you later. You're cut. And Butler said yes, and obviously did. So because he took that pay cut, he's still on the roster. That doesn't mean, you get a free pass this year if there's somebody else who's better than you that deserves to make the team. Now, a guy like Starr, yes, he's not going to be beat, and his contract is too much. He's making this roster. Yeah. But Butler, I mean, you can make that argument that no matter what, even if you're making $5 million guaranteed, if we can replace you with a better guy, with more depth, with something that helps our team better, which I think it does, then you're still cut, even though we reworked your deal.
Yeah.
He's on the bubble for sure.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, we've been talking about, if we keep 10 defensive linemen, what if you keep 9?
Oh.
Now who you cutting?
Well, Phillips would be my.
And now you got to look at guys like Mario Addison, right? Because you're invested in these young guys,
right?
And you can't. I don't know if you can go into the season with 3 defensive lines.
But Addison's contract is also, and they believe in Addison. I feel like he is.
So Obata gets cut then.
No.
Then who do you?
Phillips was my next.
So you're going to go into the season with 3 defensive tackles.
Well, but you have to.
Is that what it came down to?
But hold on, though. See, but you have to look at it this way too. That's why they're so versatile. You have guys like Carlos Basham that can play defensive tackle. The Bills are and I heard Sal Capaccio talk about this, where it's pretty much the Bills are kind of ahead of the curve. He was saying playing positionless football. So I think you're stepping away from more of the traditional fronts, from the traditional. You play, you're the defensive tackle in a 4-3, so this is your job. It's all matchup based, matchup oriented, and so I think we're seeing the Bills move in that direction. We're ahead of the curve in the area for a change. So you're seeing a lot of positionless football. So basically, I think having Starr and having another defensive tackle like him to play that 3 tech, right? I think that's important. But I think you don't have to be married to Mario Addison. But I think he's going to make the team. I think he has a role and help cultivate these young guys, right? But I think guys like Harrison Phillips, I mean, this is your contract year. You've had injuries. You really, I mean, you haven't had much impact. Vernon Butler can go, right? And then, okay, I know special teams is so important to Sean McDermott, but at the same time is, okay, then who else are you going to cut? Because there's nobody else that you can cut.
Yeah.
There's
And
nobody
I
else.
would have had 4, by the way. Who did I keep? I would have kept Hughes, Addison. So my defensive tackles, you said I only had 3, but Starr, Ed Oliver, I cut Vernon Butler. If we only kept 9, I'm cutting Harrison Phillips, but I'm keeping Justin Zimmer.
That's 3.
Who did I say? Starr,
Ed Oliver. You're cutting Butler.
Phillips,
you're cutting Phillips.
And Justin Zimmer.
4.
You're right. Yeah, I guess you're right.
So you have to cut a defensive end.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9's tough. That's why I think it's 10.
It's tough.
It's going to be 10.
It's tough,
in my opinion.
Yeah. I think Butler. I think Phillips and Butler out. Those are the 2 that are getting cut. Who else are you going to cut?
But those 2 are defensive tackles in Eric's defense here. So
yeah, but you got Zimmer, right? You got Starr. You got Basham can step in there. I mean,
I think there is some flexibility there.
Kick inside. That's what I'm saying. Like there
is some.
I think Justin Zimmer is going to be on the PUP list in your scenario.
No,
I don't know, man. I think Justin Zimmer's going to play. He's going to play. He is going to play. He is going to push for some major time in his defense up front.
And Harrison Phillips is still proving it too. I mean, he has to. Right. Who's the number 1 fill-in for Starr at this point?
Right, it's Harrison Phillips. I think his job is safe. I do.
And interesting, I did look up ESPN's depth chart. Obviously, this is very tentative for the season, but I was just curious. Hey, who do they have starting for the Bills? Because none of us know who the starting or who the depth is. And I found this very interesting indeed because their top 5 or 4, if you will. Jerry Hughes, Vernon Butler, Ed Oliver, and Mario Addison. And then their second 4 is Basham, Starr, Phillips, and Rousseau. So they pushed F.A. Obata, Justin Zimmer, and A.J. Epinesa to the 3rd team, and Daryl Johnson as the 4th team, which obviously he's more of a special teams contributor, as we've said. But still, that seems very interesting what they chose to go with there and those pieces. Obviously, for me, Butler being the starter when he's most likely my cut candidate, and I'm putting Starr there over him probably as a starter. So
okay, so let's speed this up a little bit. Okay, so we want to make this a little quick because I want to get through the entire length of the show. Right? Surprise impact player. Eric, go first. Anthony, go next. Who you got? Who's your surprise impact player for the season?
Oh man, it's a tough one because they could all be surprises.
Got to pick one
because there's some that are like I said, kind of unproven. You got 2 rookies. You got Epinesa, who's a 1-year player. I'm going to go Mario Addison.
Nice.
Okay.
I think he's going to come in focused. He did have a down year last season, but I think these young guys are pushing, and I think he's probably getting a little nervous. That he looks in shape. Obviously he's a football player, but I think he comes in with his veteran.
I like it.
Presence and has a good year.
That helps this team more than anything. I think
that's a surprise.
That'd be great.
You're right.
That'd be great.
I love it. If you're right, that's dead on. I'm going with F.A. Obata. He was my guy at training camp, and I'm telling you now, I still think if he's getting action, filling in, he's not going to be he's not going to get the highest percentage of snaps on this defense, but he's going to be effective when he's in there. And I could see him if he's competing against, Rousseau and Basham and Epinesa. Give me F.A. Obata all day. I think he's going to be the one that's going to have an impact when he's out there.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next. Who have a better rookie season? Basham or Rousseau?
And this is a tough one because, again, who plays opposite Jerry Hughes? Mm-hmm. We saw Jerry Hughes, kind of flip back and forth from left defensive end to right defensive end. You want to say Rousseau, just because we want to see that the Groot come out. He's got the crazy length. Not everybody has that. You want to see that develop, but this guy has 1 year of college football at his position.
Yeah.
And it was not last year, it was the year before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the learning curve is way steeper for Rousseau. But so I'll go with Basham. I think at the end of the year,
Okay.
statistically has a better season. I'm going to go Basham.
I think
Okay.
Basham is going to get the more opportunities here. Rousseau will be in there to see what he can do and all that. But I agree with what Eric said. Rousseau's more developmental. Rousseau has the higher ceiling moving forward, probably, and developmentally, and what his intangibles are, his measurables are, if you will. But I think Basham gets the opportunities and produces a little bit more in the stat sheet than Rousseau is going to.
I love it because I disagree with you both. I think Gregory Rousseau is going to have a better rookie season, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, his 3-cone drill was dope. It ranked amongst the top defensive ends at his position. Okay, so you know his combine in general was whatever, but what he's able to do, how his closing speed is impressive, his length with the way he uses his arms to shield offensive linemen. I mean, the guy is just, he's massive, and he knows how to use his body already. He just needs to learn some pass rush moves, but he has a couple things in his chest and his little tool belt that'll get him somewhere, right? One of the biggest problems we had last year was containment. Gregory Rousseau is great at contain. Okay. I think he's going to come in. I'm not saying he's going to be in talks for defensive rookie of the year, but between these two, I think Gregory Rousseau is going to have a massive impact of the two. I think they're both going to be good, but I think Rousseau out the gate, and everybody wants to talk about, he needs to develop. Well, I mean, 15.5 sacks in one season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That you don't luck into that. You don't luck into that, okay? That's called production. That's what got him drafted, and the tools and the character and so forth. And what we've heard, look, go back. I mean, listen to some of these guys that are the beat reporters that are reporting on the team. They'll tell you, hey, we talk about like Rousseau needing to develop. He's looking pretty damn good. Yeah. And you go back and listen to the interviews where Eric Washington talked about him in the pre-draft process. Eric Washington couldn't wait to get his hands on this dude. I'm telling you, he is going to be a problem. This guy's going to be a problem. And people are just sleeping on him because we have that, he needs to develop. You can develop, but still be productive too.
I think if they can get him to use his size the right way in the NFL, then all he needs to get, I keep saying this and doing this, waving my hands, right? He's so damn big that he could literally stand out there and wave his hands and block and distract and make plays, right? If he can get his hands up and block passes and get his hands on the football, he's going to make a lot of plays. Now, can he do that in his rookie year? I still tend to think Basham's going to have more stats, meaning more sacks or whatever at the end of the season. But if I would love it if I'm wrong and Rousseau ends up being a beast when it comes to being able to use his size in the NFL, which is his best trait, hands down.
So last year, the Bills had 38 sacks to finish the season. Like we talked about earlier in the show, that was 15th in the league. So if we were to I was like, okay, well, the leader was, I think they had like 56 sacks, and I believe that was Pittsburgh or something like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what's a good number or expectation? I think the Bills can, based on our projection, based on, if these guys take the next step or so forth, the number I come up with is 47. I think 47 sacks for the unit. I think that's fair. That's a 9-sack increase from last year. And
with the extra game, that's 17
with the extra game, right? So they're incrementally better, just a little bit better. I think they can get the 47 sacks. If that is the case, we don't have to go line by line, but who is the leading sack getter or say you will for this Bills team before we close the show? Who's going to lead the team in sacks?
Lead the team. Jerry Hughes for me. I'm going. The guy, again, the stats, the percentages, he gets the most pressures. Now that D-line is better, he's the one who benefits the most from that. I think he's going to lead the team in sacks.
And I'm going to go Ed Oliver. Relentless motor. Relentless.
Wow. I love it.
Because what happens, I mean, quarterbacks are more mobile now than ever. And, I think, Ed Oliver has the motor to chase them down. I think he gets more sacks that way than pushing up the middle.
All right. There you go. Love it.
Okay. All right. So you heard it here. So Okay, so who did you go with, Eric? You
Ed
went with
Oliver.
Ed Oliver, and you picked Jerry Hughes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. So, and
What did they have last year? Do you have it?
they had 38 sacks
38?
total.
I mean, what did Ed Oliver have and Jerry Hughes for
Oh,
sacks? I have their
goodness.
pressures. Ed Oliver had
Jerry
16
Hughes-
pressures. Jerry Hughes had 25.
I think Jerry Hughes had 4 sacks.
led-
He had like 4 or 5.
sacks.
Addison led the team in sacks. I know that. I think he had 5. And so
Yeah,
Then
Addison and
Hughes
Klein
might have
led
had-
the team in sacks last year with 5. So I think Ed Oliver maybe had
Let's-
a couple.
Based
I
on
don't
last
know.
year's stats, it's anybody's game.
Yeah.
let's go. And if
I-
Oliver can do that, again, with the guys next to him now and less pressure on him playing in the right position, hell yeah, he's got to prove he was worth that 9th overall pick.
Truth to hearts. He says,
True.
I bet 100 Hughes won't get 6. Who you?
I'll take that bet. I'll take
well,
that bet.
Well, what
More
y'all?
competition.
Okay, so that's $100 bet on Hughes won't get 6. Are you sure about that?
I
wouldn't take it.
I'm not betting truth to hearts right here, but I'm saying that if
Oh,
that were
okay.
a bet in Vegas, I would definitely take 6+ sacks for Jerry Hughes. Put $100 on that all day.
Man,
I would take.
I'm not
Jerry
touching
Hughes.
that.
I would.
Are you
I
kidding
think
me?
Jerry Hughes can get 6
You just
sacks.
went over it. Who had the most pressures on this team?
Yeah, but he had 5
Percentage-wise,
sacks
that's
last year.
going to lead to sacks. Yeah, and now he needs one more in one extra game of the season. In a season when he had so many pressures that didn't lead to sacks. Come on, don't be silly. He's
I think
going
he
to
could get 6.
I think his snaps go
He's
down.
going to have more like
because
8 is my prediction. I think he gets 8. He leads the team with 8 sacks.
A lot more rotating players this year, I think, on the defensive line. Jerry Hughes gets less opportunities to sack.
Hey, shout out to my guy Rico, man. What's up, dude? Rico's over at everybody know who Rico is. You know, he's over at the Buff Fanatics, man. Rico is a real one. Appreciate you coming in and watching the show. But yeah, I think I would take $100 bet on that. 6 sacks for
day.
Jerry Hughes all day. I think he can
That's
get 6.
silly.
That's not a lot.
He had 5 last year. He's going to get 6 this
I
year.
think he could do that. I think he could do that. I think the number has to be around 47 sacks for this unit as a whole, as a team, right?
I think you did a good calculation there with the extra game.
Yeah, I
9.
think that's fair. That's
Yeah,
not
that was good.
being extremely homer. That's like a very base, like, okay, like I think they can do that. So with that being said, let's wrap up this show tonight, man. Guys, what a hell of a job. This is the Hoof Live, right? And you guys out there, thank you for watching. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe the Hoof. We're going to be here all season long. We're going to be giving you, giving jerseys away all season. Every month, like we talked about, we're going to tell you how you can get into a drawing for that. Also, one quick thing before we go, I will be in Buffalo for 2 consecutive weekends. Okay, the first weekend is the Jordan Poyer premiere. So if any of you guys out there want to link up, meet, I would love to come have a beer with you guys, come chat, come hang out. So I will be in Buffalo the weekend of the September 4th. That's Labor Day weekend. Then I will be also out there for the season opener. So I'll be out there that weekend as well. So if you guys want to link up, you want to show me around Buffalo.
Did you get tickets? You going to the game?
I got a little plug. I got a plug. So yeah, I'm
Uh-oh.
going to the game. I'm going to the season opener, baby. I'll be there. I will be there.
Nice.
So yes. So if you want to link up in Buffalo, by all means, hit your boy up on Twitter and we will do that. But it was real, fellas. It was real. It was a great show. Bills defensive line is going to be a problem this year. And we're going to rest our laurels on that. Go Bills as we head into the preseason matchup against the Detroit Lions on Friday. And we out of here.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.